Ocarina of Time's Hyrule Field is one of the most important locations in the entire game. It's where you start your adventure. You run out from the first dungeon of the Great Deku Tree, running out of Kokiri Forest to see this giant vast plain for you to explore at your own leisure, eventually getting your own horse and traveling across the lands of Hyrule. You can see Castle Town in the distance, Death Mountain Summit back in the mountains, the rocky cliff sides that lead to Gerudo Valley. It is just a special place that I think holds a special place in a lot of our hearts. I mean, shoot, even the title screen uses Hyrule Field. It showcases what makes this game so special is its kind of feeling of openness. And that's why today, I want to talk about how Hyrule Field can be completely changed in the remake for the better, and how this once awesome yet empty area can be so much better. Now real quick before we dive in, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Ocarina of Time and Nintendo in general. We are so close to reaching our goal of 400,000 subscribers. We are just about 5K away. I've got some really fun videos planned for you guys. You can make that happen by leaving a like and subscribing right now. Let's see how many we can get from today's video alone. Thank you so much, and let's dive into the video. Hyrule Field is mainly used in Ocarina of Time as a way to traverse from one area to the next. Instead of being a series of linear hallway routes that lead from one area to the other, from city to city, town to town, location to location, instead it's all interconnected via this one giant plain. From the Hyrule Castle Town entrance to Kakariko Village, from Zora River, Kokiri Forest, and even Lake Hylia, there's so many points of interest in order for you to reach, but that's pretty much the general extent to Hyrule Field, is going to the edges in order to reach a new town. The whole center section and the majority of the field is pretty empty. If we look at the map of Hyrule Field, this is mainly where you're going to be traversing the map. If you're not trying to go for 100% and see everything the field has to offer, which isn't a whole lot, this is going to be primarily where you're traveling. Mostly from Hyrule Castle to the right side where Kakariko and Zora's entrances are, and to the left side to Gerudo Valley and Lake Hylia towards the end of the game. The south section is literally just some scattered trees. You have Lon Lon Ranch that's weirdly fenced in with mountains, the northwest area with some hidden dens and just like a little river with some trees. And pretty much the whole central plain of the field is just emptiness with a couple of dirt paths. Now there are a couple of secrets. You can find some bombable dens and maybe even some dens where you need to play the Song of Storms in order to reveal maybe a couple heart pieces, but besides that, Hyrule Field is very empty. Now, in the era of Nintendo jumping into 3D graphics for the first time, with this being the first 3D Zelda game, this was revolutionary. Just to be able to have a giant field to run around in was crazy at the time. But that was also around 27 years ago, and this is probably one of the few things in the game that definitely does not age well today. And even for a remake, even if they wanted to keep it a one-to-one recreation, this still would not float well with a lot of people, just having this giant empty field. I mean, we've already seen the major backlash that something like Metroid Prime 4 already got for having a giant empty desert that connected its locations, pretty much in the exact same way. And if you ask me, I feel like there was more stuff to do in Metroid Prime 4's desert than there is to do in Ocarina of Time's Hyrule Field. For example, there's about 6 shrines that you can find in order to find hidden collectibles. There's also some areas that tie into story lore that you have to find and search through. There's even an overworld boss battle that you can encounter. Now, with all of these things, I will say the first thing that I want to talk about is one thing that I thought Metroid Prime 4 does really well is connecting its world visually. This is something that I think is 100% going to take place in Ocarina of Time's remake, is if you just stand around in the desert and look around, you can see all the locations that you get to visit in the game in the far background, and they look so crisp and clean and real. This is some of the best looking graphics Nintendo's ever had in any of their games. You can see the giant storm clouds of Vault Forge in the background and the lightning strikes. This is stuff that I can't wait to see in Ocarina of Time. Being able to see Death Mountain Crater from Hyrule Field, especially in the future as adult Link, when the giant flame from Volvagia is circling around it, is going to look insane. Thanks to the short clip we've already seen of young Link sleeping, it's safe to say that this game is going for more of a slight realistic approach with its art style, while also still keeping it kind of cartoony. What you're seeing right now is a 4K Unreal Engine build of Hyrule Field from CryZenX on YouTube, and this looks immaculate to me. I know not everybody's going to really like this, but look at the volume of the field. There's more hills and terrain elevation and troughs, a lot more trees, and we don't have singular grass patches anymore. The entire field, for the most part, is filled with long grass. Nighttime feels even more surreal, with the moon shining its light through the clouds over the starry sky. The wind slightly blowing the grass every which way, birds flocking together, flying over Hyrule Field itself. The wall surrounding Lon Lon Ranch looks more like a natural cliffside instead of just this weird jagged rock that was placed as a barrier. So the first thing I really want to see them do is just add life to this field. I want to feel like this is a living, breathable area with all types of wildlife, more realistic grass and rock textures, and just really build up this world. But besides making Hyrule Field look beautiful, I still feel like it's going to be too empty. They need to add some things to this field, in my opinion. And one thing I thought about was towns. What if they actually added 1 or 2 extra towns outside of Lon Lon Ranch that you could go visit? Maybe adding even more than 100 Skulltulas to this game that you can find in these villages as well. But maybe instead of adding new towns and villages, they take the ones that already exist and no longer have loading screens that stop you from jumping from location to location. Meaning, for example, Kakariko Village is no longer this staircase that goes into a loading zone that's blocked off by 2 giant mountain ranges and it's only an alleyway to get there. It kind of just looks like you're going down a hallway and then boom, you're loading into a new village. Instead, they could let it be seamless this time around, where you're just walking through the mountain ranges and then you come across this village. And maybe it's even a village that you can see from Hyrule Field now, so that way it feels like a real life, lived in, breathed in world. And the same thing could be said about Lake Hylia. They could even flesh this location out a lot more and have a little Lurelin-like village from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom with other people living here as well, and it's also interconnected to Hyrule Field better, instead of being off the beaten path through some alleyway that takes you through a loading screen to get here. It's all connected as one now. So I decided to edit this map a little bit and not change it too much, but just some of those areas just kind of section off with alleyways that lead into loading zones to those towns. I've opened them up, and I even opened up Hyrule Field a little bit more itself, made it slightly bigger so that way weird and awkward mountain ranges that block you from just traversing around the field are now more open and the field feels more circular in nature. I also edited the Hyrule Castle courtyard, where it looks kind of strange how the castle's positioned to the right and the mountain ranges almost cut it off to the left, so I opened up the front a lot more. And I wanted to make the top of Death Mountain Trail a little bigger. I don't know, I always felt like the design was a little awkward, but just making it slightly bigger and adding some stuff up there could be pretty cool. And I also made the fishing hole more accessible in Lake Hylia, but this time just blocked off instead of by trees and by a fence and a mountain range, this time just blocked off by a sandbar, pretty much by a beach. And I'll show you some quick comparisons with the before and after so you can see the additions that I made a little clearer, just pretty much opening the map up a little bit more. And I would also love to see them add some Majora's Mask and also Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom DNA. And by that, I mean just more lively folk, running around doing things like the mailman running around Hyrule Field, but also seeing other characters and other NPCs traveling between the towns. But let's get into adding some actual content into Hyrule Field to make it less boring and open and empty. Maybe something else they could do is add some more unique mini games and stuff. I feel like there's a big lack of mini games, or at least unique ones, in Ocarina of Time compared to other games, like Skyward Sword having the cannon game, and Twilight Princess having the hookshot game in the cage. There's mini games, but they're just not that unique to me. It's normally use your slingshot or bow to shoot a target, or use a bomb chew to blow up a target. So maybe some type of new minigame somewhere in Hyrule Field could be pretty cool. And just like I said with Metroid Prime 4 having a certain boss battle in its giant open world desert, what if there was a boss battle or a secret boss that you could find in Hyrule Field? Maybe you learn in some side quest that there's a boss that comes out at a specific time, at some specific moment, like maybe sometime when you're a future adult Link, and you get to actually track this thing down, do the side quest, maybe it's like a trade quest, and eventually you get to find this thing in Hyrule Field and actually fight it. Preferably, I would love if it had something to do with the Stall Children. I mean, they do come out at night and you can attack them, but they really pose no threat, and they're just kind of random. They appear like literally only in Hyrule Field at night and not really ever again. But man, I would also really love if, once again, just like Metroid Prime 4, instead of Samus riding a bike, you have Link riding Epona in order to fight a boss, because there's not a single boss else in the game that requires Epona. In fact, you don't even need Epona to finish the game, and if they keep it that way, I hope they give Epona maybe some sort of actual significance through a side quest in a boss battle or something. Because right now, besides tracking down some Poes in a target shooting game in Gerudo Valley, there's not much else you can really do with Epona besides just riding around Hyrule Field. Which also reminds me, for the love of everything good in this world, please, and I mean please, make the encounters with the Poes a lot better. They could even make them a lot more interesting than they are now. Right now it's just running over these random spots that you just have to know where they are in order to get them to spawn. Most of the time you're going to need a guide, and they spawn in such horrific and weird ways, even in the 3DS remake where they'll just fly through mountains, or you have to go through them at a specific angle, or they're just going to fly through a mountain and fly away and disappear. It's annoying, it's super frustrating, and it's really not that much fun. Like shoot, maybe the secret boss battle in Hyrule Field actually has something to do with the Poes. Maybe instead of collecting all the Poes and just getting another bottle, which is kind of pointless, instead you also get an optional boss fight in Hyrule Field. After killing all the Poes, maybe you get a short little cutscene of somebody whispering to Link, or a note is left as soon as you get back into Hyrule Field again on the ground, and it reads like, come back to Hyrule Field at this time in this spot. And then you go back, and then boom, there's a gigantic like King Poe that you have to take out as a boss battle with Epona. Would be so cool. Am I getting my hopes up too high with this? Absolutely. But at the same time, do I care? No, because this just sounds too cool to not bring up. As far as anything else they could add, maybe some new changing weather. It rains quite often. I know there's the Song of Storms that you can play for it to rain, but I don't know. Give us some thunders, some lightning, some rain, some bad weather, some windy weather and stuff. Maybe even a little weather gauge at the bottom with a time so that we can also see what time of day it is for some of the side quests that we gotta do. However, there's one other thing I could see them doing, and I don't know how people will feel about this. Once again, one last time, bringing up Metroid Prime 4, but also Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, by having some sort of shrines or challenge rooms in Hyrule Field. Maybe you can go down these extra little rooms that give you a certain challenge. Maybe kind of like the Den of Trials from Twilight Princess, where you have to go through floors fighting enemies. It could be a secret new den or something in a cave. Maybe it's just like little shrines where you have combat challenges, or maybe some type of puzzle challenge, and you can get rewarded in some way. I don't know what the rewards would be. Maybe some new colored tunics or something to design Link, or some type of upgrade to all your items, but something like this would be really cool. Imagine if each shrine had a challenge for each item that you get, and if you can complete that shrine, you get an upgraded version of that item. Maybe your boomerang goes further, or your boomerang goes faster, or it does more damage or something, but it just gives you an optional way to do some extra stuff in Hyrule Field and to search down these shrines. Listen to me when I say, and I gotta make this clear because people will get this mixed up, I do not want this game to be Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. I don't want free climbing, and I don't want a giant open world, but I just want Hyrule Field to have more to it. And I think adding some shrines would just add some more content to the game without changing too much about the core gameplay, and just, you know, adding some more stuff to this game. Why would anyone get mad at adding more? But I think something like a Den of Trials or something could be pretty cool. Also, for some reason, I keep calling it the Den of Trials, but it's the Cave of Ordeals. So yes, I know I'm all over the place, but you get what I'm saying. I think they could really make Hyrule Field something truly special, and I cannot wait to see exactly what this finished version is going to look like. But let me know in the comments down below, is there anything that you would add to this, to Hyrule Field? What changes would you make to make Hyrule Field even better and livelier than it's ever been before? Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out, and I hope you all have a blessed rest of your day. See you guys.